Hella Black episode 34. Oh yeah, baby, this is a good one. This one is brought to you by all the organizers and activists that step into communities they not from. Get a photo op of them getting arrested, spend 24 hours in jail. Next thing you know, they're securing book deals and going on tour. While we out here putting our bodies on the line and doing it all, they monetizing the movement. We see you, baby.
These niggas for sure ain't from the communities they protesting in, but luckily they got a hall pass sponsored by the FBI, which comes with a rapper rewards number by Capital One. That rapper rewards number gets you into the hood at any point, anytime, and you there, ready to rock, ready to commodify, and ready to secure that bag.
Hella Black episode 34.
Ooh, you know what? If you listen to Hell Black, you know what I'm gonna say now. Like us on SoundCloud, like that shit, repost that shit, post it to Instagram. You feel me? Like us on Twitter, follow us on Twitter, do all that. Follow all our socials right.
Check out our website.
now.
We got a
Oh
new
yeah,
website. What is it?
hellablackpod.com.
Ooh, so fire.
Niggas got websites and shit. You know, we trying to make waves.
We trying to
you
get
know?
on our
industrial activism, industrial complex. Honestly, like
I'm trying to get on my what's another name for this nigga? Whatever. All the niggas that's flourishing, monetizing the movement. We on our shit. We trying to level up like them niggas.
Speaking of monetization, tap in with our patreon.com/hellablackpod. You know what I'm saying? So we can continue to have guests, but continue supporting radical folks. You feel me? You know, we playing in the beginning, but tap in with us, support us. Patreon.com/hellblackpod. You feel me? That way we're able to pay our guests. You know, we be paying people. You know what I'm saying? So tap in with our Patreon. If you want more guests on Hella Black, fuck with us. So we got a real dope episode in store today, bro. I'm juiced. Like,
I'm excited too, especially because this is someone that I know supports our podcast and is an active listener. Is it avid? Avid is when you listen to all the time, right? An avid listener. Yeah. It's like an avid listener.
Something like that.
That's what happens when you don't use inclusive language. That's what I get. This person really supports our podcast, supports our work, so I'm happy to get them on the podcast and uplift their voice and center their work.
Center people who are actually like in the field in the communities. You feel me?
Facts.
People really rocking. People really tapped in the communities. People doing the work that ain't cool. Like, people think activism is hella cool. I'm like, bruh, if you've done some organizing work, like, this shit ain't as cool as,
People make it look cool. That's why.
I'm like, that shit, people make this shit into a photo op. I'm like, bro, first of all, do you have security culture? Like, why are you taking hella photos of shit? Like, what?
But then also, I think it's important that we acknowledge that organizing and activism doesn't always have to be, like, outside. Because there are some folks who literally physically can't be in those spaces.
Exactly.
Right?
Like, so we talked about that on our last episode, too. Like, not everyone could be in the field, so we want to respect that for sure, But I think what we're talking about is critiquing folks who do those photo ops.
Who act like they in the field when they're really not.
But, when push comes to shove, they call on the FBI. Hey, can you protect me? But, hey, what do I know? I'm just a nigga trying to organize. But less about us.
See?
What?
That's Clarissa for sure. You heard that?
Yeah, I heard that. You drinking some water or something?
Hell no, nigga, that was her phone.
For real?
Clarissa.
That's all good. Clarissa, what's happening?
Nothing.
That was your phone?
No.
With your lying ass. I thought you said you got the notes.
I did get the notes.
Put your phone on silent or airplane mode. I put that at the very top. What was that noise? The doorbell?
No.
Tell me right now that wasn't your phone.
Why are y'all yelling at me?
Tell me right now.
Bro, why y'all yelling at me?
Oh my, I knew this was going to happen.
Everything is on silent.
This note is for
Hold
you
up.
and Blake. It wasn't for me. I don't need that note. That note was literally for you and Blake. I knew this was going to happen.
Oh my God.
But
It's
hey,
all right, though. Perfect way to introduce yourself.
so we got a real dope organizer, Clarissa, with us. Writer, organizer, journalist, activist, a person of the people and by the people. So shout out Clarissa. What's happening?
Hello, how y'all doing?
No, we chilling on this beautiful Sunday. No, what day is it? Damn.
Saturday.
It's Saturday.
Yeah, we've been traveling and shit. Niggas' minds is misdirected and shit. Like, what day is it?
Whatever day it is, it's nice.
The sun's out. Like, bro, I haven't seen the sun for a minute. Yeah, we got to stop talking. What's going on, Clarissa?
I'm good.
Yeah, super happy to have you on the show. You want to go ahead and boost your socials?
Oh yeah. My Twitter is Clarissa M. Brooks. My Instagram is Chloe Sucks, but to be honest, so many niggas have followed me on Twitter. Y'all really don't got to. that's just so stressful. So, follow me on Twitter if you want to. Totally fine if you don't want to. I just be saying shit. That's it.
Yeah, Twitter be wild after you get like 10,000 followers. Twitter's never the same.
Yeah,
Honestly.
it's also.
So
I
welcome
mean,
to
to
the
be
club.
honest, like, it's weird because now I gotta like navigate it differently. I can't just,
How
say the
so?
same thing. I mean, it's like, for security reasons, I have to navigate it differently, because there's so many people. But also, it's like now people think I have this voice. I mean, because of that, because of those followers. So it's just been weird to like think through, um, because of all this stuff.
Definitely. You definitely have to move a certain type of way. Just with so many people always watching you, it's kind of a
Yeah.
weird feeling. And then people, in my experience, expect you to be something. I'm like,
Yeah.
like, oh, I can't tweet about just random shit. Like, that's part of me too. I don't always just talk about politics, So
Right. Literally.
still do you, but I know
Yeah.
what you're talking about. That block button, ooh, that should be coming in
Oh, this shit
clutch.
about to be on 10.
That mute button, ooh, even clutcher. Then
Yep.
you can mute a whole discussion you're having, even better.
And I mean, honestly, like the mute button is like honestly what's kept me from seeing a lot of stuff. So like I'm sure there are a lot of really gross conversations that are happening, but I can't see them because it's muted. So it's really a blessing.
Yeah, I'm glad you're doing that for yourself. Like,
Yeah.
that's like self-care right there, especially online.
Yeah, and what I've noticed too with like when your following starts to grow, is that motherfuckers will start unintentionally demanding labor from you.
Yeah.
That's one of the weirdest things I've seen. Is like motherfuckers just unsolicited, like just coming into your
Yeah.
mentions, like, what you think about this?
Hey, can you do this? Hey, can you read my paper? No, I'm a teacher. Like, I ain't gonna read your paper right now. What? Like, that's you paying me? What the fuck, nigga? I already have to grade fucking 50 papers. I ain't trying to grade no more papers that I ain't getting paid to grade. Nigga, what? Tripping. Anyways. So, we know you're a journalist too, right?
Yes.
So how'd you get into journalism?
I got into journalism, specifically like music journalism and all that good stuff, just because I was that kid in high school that was really tired of listening to the same shitty music at parties. So I was like, I'm just gonna write about the music that I like and what I like listening to, and that kind of just turned into writing about politics and pop culture.
So when you first got into writing, you're saying in high school, was that like for a publication or like a school paper, or is this something you're just doing for yourself?
It was something I was just kind of doing because I was like a part of that. I don't even that like post blog era where like everyone was like downloading hella mixtapes, and like just listening to a bunch of shit all the time. So I was writing for myself, and then I started writing for a website called Dead in Hip Hop, and I wrote my first review on No Name when her Telephone album dropped, and just been writing from ever since.
Damn. So I did a little music journalism when I first got out of college. But what has it been like navigating that space as like a black queer woman?
It's weird. I mean, it's weird because I'm also still a student, so I don't really have as much time to like go to events, especially being in Atlanta. Atlanta's like the place to be a music journalist. But I'll say like it's hard to get people to like care about like artists that aren't Drake and Future and Migos. Like if
In
you try to
Atlanta?
talk about Prince, you try to talk about like Princess Nokia or No Name or like something. Like niggas just don't want to talk about anything else.
In Atlanta?
Yeah,
I feel like Atlanta has always been the place where like underground shit kind of takes off. No?
it does, but you have to like be plugged into that. Like you gotta like know somebody that will bring you to those parties or know somebody that will let you into that space. But because I'm a student, like I just don't have time to be super plugged in like that.
Yeah.
So I be hearing about it secondhand. But I mean, I'm starting to get more involved. My friend Yo uh, really kind of keeps me in the loop of what's going on. So, and also just I think the thing about my music journalism is like I used to try to fight for that validation, but now I'm just in a space of like I just want to write about what I like, and just do that.
Yeah, that's an interesting point you brought up about like the underground scene kind of being closed off. Because I think when I think about the A, I think about it being like a big space for music. Like, so I was kind of surprised about hearing that the underground space is like kind of closed. You got to know people to get into that space. Why do you think it's closed off like that, or like harder to get into as a journalist?
I mean, because it's all based on relationships, and also being a woman. Like, you got to figure out if niggas want to invite you there because of your work or because they want to fuck you. Um, so it's weird to build relationships and hope that it's based on genuine respect, and not some weird shady stuff.
Yeah, that's something I've seen like over the last year and a half. I say like working in music, I've seen women trying to navigate that space, and just like any other patriarchal system in fucking the world, is I've seen it be really hard for women to get respected for the work that they're doing. And then on top of that, right, like as journalists, people just don't respect people in music. From what I can say, don't respect journalists from the get go, and then you throw in being black and a woman into it, and I could see how that just makes shit even harder.
Yeah, I mean, it's odd just in the sense of trying to get it figured out and also just trying to, I don't know, just be happy with what you do and be okay with it. At this point, I just try to write about what I like, do what I can, and honestly, like, not be self-deprecating about my writing and my work. Like, I got invited to this Migos party last year at a mansion, and when the person emailed me, I was like, "Is this a joke? Is this for real?" But she was like, "No, I'm actually inviting you to this." So, just trying to like appreciate the fact that I'm not, just floating in the nebulous.
Are you studying journalism right now?
No. My major at Spelman is women's studies and writing. Because Spelman doesn't have like a journalism major per se, but I kind of like had to create one through my minor.
That's dope.
Yeah.
So I think definitely one of the biggest stories right now in music is the Dreamville session. So what are your thoughts on that?
Ooh, the Dreamville sessions. I honestly like. So Yo was able to go to the sessions, and write about it, and I kind of got to like live through his experience of like going through that. It was really dope to hear about and see, but I think probably for myself, I don't know. I had a bit of jealousy, even though I really ain't nobody when it comes to music journalism. I still was like a little perturbed. I was like, damn, I wish I could go. But then, just the conversation about women being involved in those spaces. Um, I think J. Cole is somebody who's seen as like the good conscious rapper, but has had a really hard time being critical about the way that he talks about women, and the way that his fan base talks about women. So I think that showed up a lot, when EVA brought up that question of, um, why weren't any women in media brought there? Um, because of course all the niggas were like, "You're a distraction. What would you do?"
Like my
So
fucking job.
no, literally, right? And the fact that like people couldn't connect to the fact that there are women in journalism who write about music. So I think it was more or less just disappointing that like nobody really cared. Like it was a topic of conversation for like a day, but then it kind of just faded away. And the other part is that at the end of the day, when this album does come out, women journalists are gonna have to write about it.
Right. And it was
So
also
it's like,
yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
it's just like it would be easier to write about that if folks could be in the room to give that background and detail on it. But the fact that they weren't is kind of corny. The fact that like they had this whole session and nobody was like, "Oh yeah, we should invite EVA or Scotty or somebody," like.
And it was also wild because I remember when that question was asked on Twitter, and motherfuckers were responding. Mostly men were responding to the tweet with artists, and it was like, nigga, they
Right.
said women in media. Are y'all completely like that? Just like niggas hate for women is so strong that they read what they want to read and they hear what they want to hear when women are talking.
Or like because they genuinely don't know any women in media, or they don't follow any, so they're like, "Oh no, Dreezy's there." Okay, yes, we know that. We know Ari Lennox is there. Women in media.
Like there are a whole bunch of fucking uh cameramen there, literally men with the cameras. Like, why weren't there any like female photographers there?
Yeah. And it also is just like about diversity and like who gets to tell the story. Like when I was watching the live streams, it was all niggas. All niggas. Like, so y'all think that, I mean, of course the coverage is going to be great because Yo is amazing. But also, like, I'm sure there is a missing viewpoint that
Facts.
that that somebody's gonna that a woman in media could bring to that conversation, that won't be told because nobody thought to invite a woman there. And there's literally too many women OGs, OG journalists. Like, there's a woman named Christina Lee who literally has been writing about Outkast and Atlanta hip hop for like the past 20 years. Like, literally, there's no excuse that no woman in media wasn't invited.
Facts. And it's just like your article will be better with a different viewpoint too. You know what I mean? Like if it's just the same exact viewpoint constantly, the same exact story being told, like
I mean,
it's repetitive.
Of course, it's gonna be like the same type of. It was nothing but niggas in there, and I'm pretty sure like probably the same type of niggas.
Right.
So it's gonna be the same shit written about over and over and over again.
Yep.
The same story being told.
Yeah. So what you think about like the golden ticket type shit that was going around on Twitter?
Like the concept of it?
Yeah.
I really like the concept. I think it kind of brought a sense of urgency and like selectiveness to it. Which I think was really important, just to kind of like curate really specific voices. And they picked artists that, you know, people have been talking about for a minute, but who weren't necessarily a part of the mainstream, which says a lot more about Dreamville and that they're looking at people who aren't, you know, just the top artists that are out there right now. So that's really dope. So, I mean, I am excited about the album. I think, if anything, it's going to be interesting to see what makes it and what doesn't. And see what it sounds like. I'm interested to see what that process is going to be like.
Yeah, especially because Cole, he's known for not having features on his shit. You feel me?
Yeah, and this is right.
So what do you think about that, you know, for him now letting people into his collaborative process, and what do you think it says about him also, like, bringing in people who might not be the, what, quote-unquote A-list, you know, the Future, the Migo, like, what do you think about that?
Yeah. I mean, J. Cole's known for Cole's specific just him albums, he never really does features, which he's done really well with. I think with the Revenge of the Dreamers one, their past albums have been collaborations, but we've never really been able to see the process. So I think with this, people are going to feel more involved in it, and it's going to do really well because of that. Like, you know, if you were able to be that person to see when Dreezy got her ticket or to see when Young Baby Tate got hers, I think that's going to be a really special moment, especially for their fans, to see like these up and coming artists be on a song with JID or on a song with Boz. I think it was definitely something special. I'm interested to see how much J. Cole is going to be involved, because on the past Dreamville albums, he hasn't been on all of the songs, or he's been on like one or two. So that's going to be interesting to see. And I'm hoping that the women that were invited are actually on the album and that they make some of the best songs on it. Also, I just stand Ari Lennox, so I'm always excited for anything she puts out.
I've never seen this much hype around studio sessions. I've never seen
literally.
I've
the fact that
never
niggas
seen
were
it.
like, I just need the address.
Like, you usually talk about, like, folks usually say, like, if you're not in music, I always hear people complaining about how boring the studio is. So, like, to see fans and folks on the outside being, like, super pumped up about it, I'm like, damn, they did their thing with this. They made it a moment. Like, this is a moment that folks will never forget.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that Dreamville has been able to figure out. Like, they've just been able to release their shit and just create, like, the Dollar in a Dream tour. Like, that was just very, I don't know what their marketing team is, but they really got it figured out.
Yeah, their marketing is raw.
Yeah.
Like, that took over the internet without doing some clown-like shit. You feel me? Like, I feel like most of the people who are taking over the internet these days, you know, are just doing some weird...
Going viral through, like, these wild-ass antics.
Yeah.
So for them to just go viral with a piece of paper and make it the most talked-about thing in music for at least the last year, that was wild.
Yeah, and I think it's also, like, their stuff is always accessible. Like, Um, J. Cole came to Morehouse my freshman year, and he spoke at in a psychology class. When I tell you, my friends and I ran, like we put on our shoes and ran to Morehouse because Spelman's right next to Morehouse. We ran over there. When I tell you the street was blocked off, they had to get the cops. Also, that nigga is so tall. Like he is maybe like 6'2", like so tall. But yeah, that was a really big moment. And then I remember that next week when we got out of school, the Dollar and the Dream tour started, and I was back home, and it was like, hey, come to this movie theater, like shit like that, where it's like it's accessible and kids can get to it and access it and be a part of it. Artists nowadays aren't doing that.
Shit, what was that feeling like? Just running across, finding out J. Cole like was
It was
Morehouse.
honestly like, I mean, honestly, one of the best freshman experiences I can think of because everyone loved J. Cole. Like it wasn't even a question. Everyone was there. I also knew some of the kids that were in the classroom. And if anything, that was more interesting to see the video of him talking, um, and the kids in the class who were just like, because they didn't know. So he just walked into class and they're just like, what the fuck? J. Cole is in my classroom.
That's hella raw.
Um, so, I
I feel
mean,
like
it's
he'd be
things like
doing
that to
just
where,
regular shit like that. You know?
yeah, and that shit is really rare. And for them to be able to ask him, like, hey, what is celebrity like? How do you navigate it? Um, how do you get through this process? So I think that's also probably why a lot of folks don't feel any hesitation with saying, hey, why aren't there women in media in the room? Because J. Cole's been somebody who is open to critique and open to um, being questioned and pushed back on. So I think if anything, it was really less about J. Cole and more about the folks that created the Dreamville series and asking them questions of like, okay, I know y'all have this talented pool of folks, but also we can do better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's why a lot of people have. I don't want to say. So like, there's always been this conflict with Cole, right? It's like people put him on this pedestal that, in a way, he didn't ask to be on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like once you deem yourself as like this conscious rapper, and again you pose yourself as someone who's willing to be critiqued and open to it, and then you do these things where it's like motherfuckers feel like you should know better. I feel
Yeah.
like that's why people are so conflicted with him, because he'll do some shit like be the most accessible rapper in music, do this Dollar in Their Dream tour, make himself a person of the people, opening up his house to folks, to his childhood home, and housing people. He does all these things, and then he'll do something like not invite a single woman in media to the session. It's like, damn, my nigga, like I thought you knew better.
Yeah.
But then that's also why I feel like on my end, I'm patient with the nigga, because for one, bro did not deem himself as the Messiah. That was something that we kind of placed on him through him
Yeah.
being so accessible and the most probably least trash rapper
Yeah.
out there. Like, like again, all niggas are dealing with their homophobia, transphobia, misogyny, right? But bro has just made it a point through his actions to like kind of separate himself from the pack in terms of politics. So when he does things like he just did, as far as, well, not just him, right? It was the whole like Dreamville team. But when something
Yeah.
like that he's the spearhead
face
of, yeah, when shit like that happens, niggas be hella conflicted with, bro.
Yeah. And it's definitely tough. I mean, and also, I mean, it says a lot about celebrity culture and like who we idolize, who we don't. Um, like the whole idea of celebrity is like rooted in capitalism and bullshit. So it's always like whenever I feel like, damn, I really want to like be mad at the celebrity, I also remember like this is a regular ass person.
Can you expand on
Um,
that? That was a really good point, but the point of celebrity being like a root of capitalism. Can you expand on that thought?
yeah. So like having a celebrity or having someone who is seen as this upper echelon of people, like it's that whole thing when people are like, you know, celebrities aren't regular people. But the reality is, like, they are regular people. Like, J. Cole's a regular fucking dude. At the end of the day, he is just well known and popular because of the music he creates. But that music and that popularity is rooted in idolatry and who we deem as better than everyone else. Um, and then money also. Like, if you're a celebrity, it has to be rooted in the fact that you have millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And so it helps us think that somebody is better than us because they have more money, when in reality we know that most celebrities are trash people. They
Yeah.
just have money.
That's all. Yeah.
And and that's like, they are in fact not any better or worse than us, and that we are all trying to figure out how to exist through life. Um, but it's hard to kind of get people to realize that, and I think that's probably why my own critiques of the Dreamville stuff have kind of faded away, just because like my politics 2 years ago are not the politics I have today.
Facts.
And it takes time and process to get there. Like my ideas on prison abolition have like kind of been something I go back and forth about, but it was through the people around me who gave me the space to ask questions and figure that out. So I just try to give folks grace, and also just realize at the end of the day, like, I don't got Cole's phone number. I don't got the Dreamville phone number. So I'm hoping that somebody on the internet is having that conversation with him about that. But at the end of the day, that is not my work.
And I think one thing me and Delency was talking about recently is sometimes we forget about that process and what that process looks like. Like,
Yeah.
I think sometimes we expect people to jump from A to B right away and not talk about, like, the process. Sometimes, like, it could look ugly too, like learning politics, getting better politics. Like, there's a whole process that goes on. There's a whole unlearning process. And I think sometimes it's just like this woke culture, this woke caricature. I feel like it's like, all right, well, I'm woke, they're not woke, but
Yeah.
are we understanding this person as someone that is always changing? You know?
And the idea of progress and change and development looking like linear, you know what I'm saying, as opposed to it being this thing where you do take like one step forward, two steps back, three steps forward, one step back, right? Like there's always that process of learning and unlearning, but for some reason we all just like to seem like we got our shit together at all
Absolutely.
times, and that we were told that this was bad, and once we figured that out, we never were the same. It's like, nah, fam, that's not how it works.
Right. And people, I think, will put that on us, like, as folks that are known for politics. It's like, nah, me and Delency are always learning and unlearning. Like, we had a whole conversation learning and unlearning just, a few days ago, right? And I think those conversations are important to have too. And you don't ever get to a point where you're just woke. Like, one thing I try to tell my students a lot is be woke enough to know that you'll never be woke enough.
Yeah.
Right? Always
like you're constantly learning.
Yeah. And even me as a teacher, I'm like, I'm learning from my students too. I tell my students that when we start class, like, I'm learning from you just like you're learning from me. Like, there is a good teacher is always a student,
But I feel like people talk about learning and unlearning all the time, but then don't create the conditions for that to happen. Is that something you've seen?
Yeah, I'm thinking, what is her name? Oh, so Ashley Henderson. She is the co-director of the Highlander Center. I interviewed her for the.
Can you talk a little bit about the Highlander Center and what that is?
Yeah, the Highlander Center is kind of like an organizing space. I'm not 1,000% sure on everything that they do, but Ashley Henderson is maybe one of the greatest organizers I've met. But basically, I spoke to her and kind of walking through the issues that people had with the fact that Centolia Brown was given commutation and not clemency. And commutation being that, she gets time served and then 10 years of parole, whereas clemency is like a completely wiped record and immediately released. And so, when I was talking to her, I was like, hey, like, when I first got on this project, I really forgot the fact that we had to get somebody free. And she was like, she was basically saying that we do a disservice to the folks that we work with to not talk about how we get through our unlearning and how we get through our learning process. So she was saying, like, when I said that on the phone call that we got to get ourselves free, I wasn't exactly 100% sure if that was going to happen, but I knew that I had to be strong in that sentiment in order for us to work towards it. And even when she did get commutation, she didn't know it was going to happen, and like still fighting for those wins, even if we don't know if it's going to happen, and kind of just having that, not blind faith, but having faith in Black folks and in community, and knowing that we deserve the wins. I think it's been really important just to hear those things of like, especially because I think, especially in organizing spaces, when you meet younger folks who are just getting into it, they're like, oh my gosh, you're amazing. And you're just like, okay, but hold up now. A year ago, I was not where I am now. Mm-hmm. 3 months ago, I was not where I was. So it's important to walk through that process with people and make sure they know that, you didn't just get here magically. You didn't magically become the radical left organizer that you are without a lot of uncomfortable processes.
Yeah. And I think that's why it's so important to create spaces where there's conditions for learning. Because if you come into a organizer space and an activist space, and oftentimes, you know, especially in my experience, like in student spaces, there's a lot of like big words, you feel me, big theories, and people aren't necessarily explaining it. So that could be like intimidating to come into a room, right? And all these, you know, big words are being used, big theories are being used, but nobody's explaining what it actually means. And then you're someone in there who goes into the space genuinely interested in like, oh, I'm trying to do work, I'm trying to support people, I'm trying to help people, and then you end up being turned away because it's kind of a space that's actually very intimidating rather than being inclusive, you know?
Yeah.
So I think,
yeah, and that's the issue we've had with AC Shut It Down, which was the student organization I was a part of. People would show up and be like, y'all niggas are doing a lot. And also it's like, we are an organizing family, so we all know each other really well. We're all really close, very cliquish. And so people were like, nah, you know, I'm good off of it. So we really had to do that work of like stepping back, unlearning, making space for people, and making space for people to grow, because all of us had already kind of grew up in the same space where we kind of all knew each other's politics. But just giving people space to learn is something that I don't think a lot of organizers do, and it's something that I'm always pushing myself to be better at.
You know what I'm thinking about is how a common theme in these kind of spaces, right? Like, this is a lifetime's work, but the patience that we show with people doesn't support that claim. Like, I feel I've been in a lot of like organizing activist spaces, and they're not patient spaces for the folks that we're supposed to be working with. But we're always repeating that theme of, oh, this is a lifetime's work. We're gonna be doing this forever. But if you're gonna be saying that, you gotta have patience.
You have to have lifetimes worth of patience
for sure.
But it's definitely also it's nuanced too. So it's like if somebody's coming in, you know, on some like real misogynist.
Some niggas are actually ops.
Yeah.
Like some people is actually like the enemy. Right.
No,
but
literally.
I'm saying like when you have folks who are actually trying to learn, and
showing that they're doing better.
Yeah. Like
but you want I think it's that drag culture too that has been created on social media and how it shows up in certain spaces, you know.
I think about how many times I'm afraid to like say something because I know that it might not be the space for me to be, like I might not be given the opportunity to learn from it. Like I always feel like we're one podcast away from somebody just canceling us.
Literally.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, damn, so all the work that I did up until now is now it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Right. Well, and I feel like, if I'm being honest, I feel like folks that talk about cancel culture or whatever, I feel like it's folks that aren't organizers and folks that don't understand the root of that, and like how accountability, number one, is a process that you can't force on people, but also like folks that came from a place of like, we need to be able to like have agency in what we interact with and who we interact with. And I feel like a lot of times people that talk about canceling people, like I don't think I've ever said that I wanted to cancel somebody, but I do get to decide if I want to interact with them anymore. And like, if you're out here spewing misogynistic, transphobic bullshit, then like, yeah, I'm not going to interact with you anymore. I don't have to give you that labor, because if I've tried to explain it to you and go through the work with you and you're still deciding not to, like, I get to make that decision. But I think Twitter is this really weird space to where people think if we all collectively decide to cancel somebody, then it's over. Where it's like, that's not how that works actually. Like, restorative justice is not this easy fixed process. It is like painful and uncomfortable, and people have to decide that they want to be a part of that. But if you don't want to, and like, we just don't want to fuck with this person, okay, cool, but like, know that is not, you know, I don't know,
it's not always productive.
I just think Twitter is really weird. People think they like know what's going on. I'm just like, if you were actually in an organizing space, you would understand the purpose of this process of accountability. But like, y'all niggas just want to yell.
And honestly, the way people talk to people on Twitter, I'm like, I hope you have this same energy in person.
I'm saying,
like, some people come at me hella foul. I'm like, please keep that energy if you see me in person, because
people who actually experience violence don't talk about being violent on Twitter.
I'm saying.
Like,
And that was
I've
the
experienced some very violent shit, and it's very seldom I tell a nigga, I'll beat your ass. Like, for one,
no,
I
for
know
real.
that I can't beat everybody's ass, and I should never say that to someone that I've never seen fight. Like, you should just be
Right.
skeptical. Niggas just be
Yeah.
on Twitter and enticing violence, saying never really experienced the shit.
Yeah.
And I also
Words
like,
have meanings.
literally. And also like I grew up in like poverty. Like that shit was enough to like make me, I don't know. I'm not saying I'm ready to fight everyone, but I had this one kid who basically tweeted me and was like, "You're a fake activist. Nobody cares about you." All this shit, right? And so I tweeted him back. I was like, "Okay, word. I'll see you on Brown Street. I'll see you." Like, and I really meant it. I was like, "Dude, school starts in a week. I'll see you. This Twitter shit is cute, but I will see you in person.
But I'll pull
and
up.
when I see you in person,
You better
like
be ready.
keep this energy." I mean, and of course, I've seen him on campus multiple times, and I've said, "Hey, how are you doing?" And he walks away.
He was shook.
I've had to ask.
And so it's very much like don't get it twisted. Like if you think that I'm this organizer and that I just talk out the mouth, you right, but also
You can catch these hands.
right.
Why do
like,
niggas
it
think
was a low
organizers
beta.
ain't about the shit though?
Because they think that we just like to complain and yell out loud. And the thing is, like, I've had to be honest with myself about when I'm arguing with people out of a place of my own scarcity and check myself. Like, I've had to get through that and be like, am I just yelling because, you know, my day isn't going well or because I'm mad at the world? And I have to check myself. And, like, I'm fine with doing that work for me. But if you're coming at me brazy and you think that I don't have the range and the wherewithal to meet you, then like you have severely chosen the wrong one. And I think that's the difference. I mean, and not every organizer is like that. Like I come from like Greertown in Charlotte, so like I'm used to fighting, but like this
you got
internet
that 1-2
shit
combination, huh?
yeah, like I mean, this internet shit can very much like still get you hurt. And I think with the stuff that's been going on, a lot of people have been like, are you worried about your safety and all this other stuff? And it's like, you know, I've survived poverty and I've survived trauma and I've survived like getting detained by the Secret Service. So like, if it's my time, it's my time, but I'm not about to like change my livelihood over some internet shit.
Yeah.
Like I've experienced real danger.
Yeah, like real danger. Like
It is not the first time someone has threatened me.
Right.
Right.
Like I've
real
had
life
tangible
danger.
threats where a nigga like is next to me and is like, nigga, I'll do this to you. And I know that he will. If I've made it through that, you know, I'll be all right.
Yeah.
When I first started, like when I first really got on Twitter and started like speaking and shit, and I was getting DMs about like niggas saying what they would do to me, I was like laughing.
I remember you said shit to me. It was just
Like
this
nigga,
shit's
what?
comedy. Like
Nigga, I really been outside my entire life, bro. Like I'm not worried.
And I think, I mean, people have kind of put that on me for the past few days of being like, you should be worried about your safety. And I mean, it is real. And like, I do have to think about my safety in a different way. But the other part is that like, if a nigga want to pull up on me, then like, that's really about them. It really has nothing to do with me.
I mean, your safety
like,
been threatened, honestly.
Yeah, like if you really want to take out all that energy to come find me, then like go ahead and make that move. But like I have a community around me, so like I'm not concerned. And also like getting out of poverty is fucking a lot. And also like just existing as a queer Black woman who says shit all the time is tough. So
yeah.
I mean,
so you talked about being detained by the Secret Service. So you had another celebrity apparently on your campus. Was that on Spelman or Morehouse?
Not celebrity.
I know,
so
I'm messing with you.
In 2015, Hillary Clinton came to Clark, Atlanta.
Ooh,
who organized that?
Yes, exactly.
Hey, that sounds like some Black shit. You know, that's
my god.
That's that.
But when I tell you, literally
that's that blue check Black shit.
No, but literally every Black celebrity in Atlanta was there. Like Karen Civil.
I'm sick.
Can't even remember. Like everybody under the sun was there.
I needed terms.
Yeah, and so basically, I had just joined AUC Shut It Down, which is the organization I was a part of. And so basically, like a week before, we were like, okay, well, we got to figure out what to do. And so niggas were like, we got to shut it down. And so we did some planning, got things figured out. But yeah, we interrupted Hillary Clinton in 2015.
I remember seeing that photo. Y'all were like, I could see in y'all faces that y'all was up to something. Was that like before y'all did it? I'm assuming.
Yeah, what we had been told was that we were gonna be on stage. So we thought we were gonna be on stage. They did not put us on stage, thankfully. They just kind of threw us in a corner and were like, just stand over here. So we had to rework our plan. But yeah, we interrupted her. And as we're singing our little Hell You Talking About song, we got John Lewis, um, Andrew Young, the presidents of Spelman and Morehouse College, kind of grabbing us and being like, this isn't the time. Don't do this.
When
You
is
know,
the
so like
time, nigga?
literally.
Y'all were
So
some uppity Negroes to them, huh?
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is, and I think that's the worst part about Atlanta is like it is run by these civil rights leaders um who like deserve the respect that they have, but they also are holding on to that to keep them in power, I guess, or to keep that legacy so that they
Quick
decide
question:
what black people do.
Is John Lewis the nigga who was like something about if I got beat by the police, then I
Yes.
can still be friends with them? So can you?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that nigga.
That's
Yep.
a non-violent shit. I can't. Ugh.
Yeah, it's super corny. But yeah, but then basically they told they told Avery and Sharanti that they would be able to go up there and speak to Hillary, but in reality they just took them outside. So it was just the last seven of us just holding on. And I was the closest to the door, and I just remember the Secret Service dude being like, if you don't let go of this guard, I'm gonna body slam you. And I was just like, well, I don't really think I want my mom to see me get body slammed on national TV, so let me let go. But yeah, and then they literally threw us out, and then the band starts playing. Like this room of like 2,000 people all decide to like cheer that we're being kicked out, and we're taken out by Secret Service.
And this is at a HBCU. This is happening
At an HBCU, right? And yeah, like, and when I tell you,
It's like a movie script.
I was so sure that I was gonna die. Like, I was so sure of it because number one, we know the history of like Secret Service, the government, and like organizers. So like, I was 1,000% sure that once we got kicked out, we were gonna be shot in the back of the head. I was very sure of that, just because you know, fucking with a former Secretary of State is not a small thing. And we had prepared for that. Like we had those conversations of like, what do we do if we die? Like, what is that conversation like? So, but we didn't, right? Um, but after that, like they just kind of took us back and were like, you can't come back in, all this other stuff. And of course, all of her black staff starts talking to us and being like, why did you do this, right? And crying and shit. But yeah, so that 2015 thing was that was trauma. That was strife.
I don't know. Hearing you talking, especially that last part about the possibility of dying, I think that's something that many of us that are in this space understand, but it's not something that's talked about for some reason, especially when this shit is so glorified, bro.
Right.
Like death is always right around the corner, bro.
Yeah.
And I think it's people get surprised. I don't know, like when I talk, like I'll talk about it sometimes with people I'm close with. I'm like, yeah, I've kind of accepted death, and that it can happen at any moment, and I don't necessarily fear it. It's like, all right, if I go, I'm gone, but shit, y'all better slide from me.
No, literally. But I mean, and even I talked to my friend Courtney who went to UF kind of about because they had a similar interaction with Nazis and stuff at their school. But just with the idea of being so young and being ready for it or not being scared of death is not normal, right? It's not normal. And it's definitely not something that I am proud of, but it's something that you have to just be ready for if you want to be an organizer, especially when like we see news of organizers in Ferguson dying all the time or of organizers committing suicide all the time. It's like, it just kind of is a part of it. And you just kind of have to like prepare yourself for it in that type of way. But it definitely isn't something that I'm proud of, but it's something that I've had to get comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me, it's something I try not to think about. I mean, like I accepted
Yeah.
it from when I think about like when I've actually been at protests and shit, and you feel me, like Proud Boys and shit, Nazis is there, the police is there, like all the ops are there, and we outnumbered. We don't got as many guns as them niggas. Like the
Right.
odds aren't in our favor. But it's for me, it's like I think I'm so focused on liberation that all that shit gets pushed to the back of my head. Like, even when I think about the fact that you feel me, it's folks out there that could be following me around, know what I look like, I don't know what they look like, can catch me at any given time because I'm outside. It's just something I've just accepted, and I really, I don't want to say I don't give a fuck, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. I'm gonna keep pushing this issue.
And part of me not giving a fuck too, or accepting it is also, I feel like trying to get over that fear of it too, you know?
Yeah.
Just because it's such a reality if we study our history, you feel me, of people with black radical politics, you kind of know what's going to happen in some way.
If you effective.
Yeah.
Right? Like if we really want to do with the things that we claim we want to do, there's some shit that comes with it. It's either death or incarceration.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think it's funny to like think about, so like I think after the 2015 stuff, like there were times I'd be flying and stuff, like, and it's weird to like talk about the paranoia of being an organizer, but it's something you have to get comfortable with. And even like I would fly, and every time I would go through TSA, I would always get checked.
Shit, and I just got searched both times.
Yeah, and I would be like, bro, why is it like I'm literally not anybody's concern? Why do I get checked? And then one of my friends was like, nigga,
what's your first name? Right.
Yeah, like your whole name was involved in that. Like they know who you are. Like, not saying you're a flight risk, but like the government works in very specific ways. Like it knows, you know, it. But I mean, just things like that, to where you have to be a little paranoid, and you have to kind of work from a space of
you got to be alert,
knowing
for sure.
that. Yeah, you have
to be alert.
And yeah, it's just something that you kind of have to get comfortable with and work through for yourself, and decide how you're gonna make it through the next day, regardless.
Yeah, that's hella real.
For the sake of time, we're gonna transition to another segment before we get to the exclusive shit. So this is like this part we really want for folks that aren't subscribed to Patreon to still be able to get this content. So we'll do this piece, and then we'll switch into the exclusive content, right?
Gotcha.
So yeah, I know this part that we're talking about, the next segment, is something that like Blake and I were both skeptical when talking about it, because you know Blake reached out to you, like this past, was that like Friday you reached out to Clarissa?
I can't even remember the days. Sometime recently.
So sometime this week with the shit that happened with you and bruh. And so we like, the goal is definitely to center you and uplift you. And then part of me was like, I don't want this to be on no opportunistic shit. Like that was something that popped in my head. Even if I know the intentions are real, like that's something the shit happens, right? Like people bring you on to talk about your trauma and don't do it in a way that centers you or helps you work through the shit and process the shit, you know? So I was like, as we was breaking this down, we were trying to figure out the exact way to do this segment. So we're just going to talk about it at any given time. If you feel like, keep that in mind. Like this is supposed to center you and uplift you and work in a way that's beneficial for you. So that's just our goal.
Yeah. And one of the reasons why we wanted to talk about like, all right, what do you do as a music journalist? You know, like who are you? You feel me? It's like, it's not about
to reduce you to that moment.
Yeah. You were an organizer, a writer, an activist, a student activist, you know, before that. So, you know what I'm saying? We wanted to for sure center the work that you have been doing. You know what I'm saying? It's not this overnight like type shit. Like you've been doing the work. You feel me? So
yes.
So for those that don't know, recently this nigga Shaun King, and this is wild because I do not know. Like, I don't know shit about this nigga.
Or Shaun Cream.
They got a bunch of names for this nigga. Talcum X, Martin Luther Cream,
Thurgood Partial.
The shit is hilarious, honestly.
Shaun White.
They call Shaun White. It was another one they called this nigga. I don't know. Anyway,
white mocha. Oh.
I don't know this much about bruh, but I just know like over the last couple of days, I just saw that he was allegedly just about to start suing hella folks, right, for defamation of character. Is that what he was doing? Yeah. Yeah. And it was hella. There is such a layered topic, right? Because like, how can you be a nigga that's for the liberation of black folks, but you suing the niggas that's you suing fellow organizers or activists.
So using the same justice system that you're against, and you're weaponizing it against black people who are fighting against this system too. What does that make you? Right.
Yeah.
A full operative.
So for me on the outside looking in, if you could, I guess, go into detail on like what exactly happened between y'all two that led to this shit.
Yeah. So basically, a little backstory. So I was on the Free My Sis campaign kind of team. I really just kind of just jumped on, was like, how can I help out for Centoya Brown? So I was working with Brittany Pascal and BLM Nashville and folks there who were working to get Centoya clemency. So the day of her clemency, I saw that old dude had tweeted out basically being like, hey, we're going to get Centoya free, donate here. And there was a link to her website. And mind you, I'm at work. This is like 9 a.m. And we found out about her clemency at like 11 or 10:30. And so when I saw him tweet that, I was like, it's funny that he's donating or trying to get people to donate because he was not on the team. I know the folks on the team, and I know he's not a part of it. So I tweeted out being like, how are we going to hold him accountable to that? Because of the questions people have asked in the past. So yeah. And then 3 days later, he basically tweeted out saying that, you know, hey, I'm gonna start suing niggas. And I was like, oop, don't have time for that. So I deleted my tweet. I think I have one tweet still up, and that's just, you know, it's a good day to block Shaun King, because when is it not a good day to block him? But yeah, so basically that next Monday, he emailed me saying that he had been advised to take legal action if I didn't delete it, apologize, and retract the statement. I sent him back a response. That was basically the letter that I put out, basically saying, you know, like, hey, I have already deleted this. I'm not apologizing for it because I've deleted this of my own volition. I have nothing to apologize for. And yeah, have a good day.
Did you delete it before he emailed you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, she said she deleted it right after the nigga made that announcement that he'll be sued.
Yeah, because I mean,
it's not worth it. I think that's a real important thing to talk about too, because he's emailing you about something. His lawyers CC'd too. He's emailing you about something you already decided to delete. So, what is going on besides intimidation?
Right, exactly. And then, and there was also like a time limit on this too. It was basically like you have 48 hours to delete, retract, and apologize.
Like, nigga, I don't always check my email every 48 hours. What the fuck?
Exactly, right? And that's the other part. Like, you're putting I'm 23 years old. I am not your child. I'm not your dog. I do not move at the behest of this light-skinned man. Like, that's not me. So when he emailed me, I was basically like, no, I'm not apologizing, especially because I'm fully aware of what it would take to sue somebody for that. And that is such a long process. Like, and it's just not worth it. Hence
and
why
he don't have to open up his bank account too.
Exactly. So I deleted it, and I felt like I'm not apologizing for something that I'm fully aware I can't back up. Like, I'm just going to delete it myself, right? So then he emailed me back again and was like, he basically said in the email on Wednesday, if you don't apologize today, I've been advised to take legal action. And I basically emailed him back and said, do it. I'm not apologizing. And then 10 minutes later, I was on his Instagram and his Twitter. And
how was that legal action, my nigga?
That's
literally just like...
Right. Because and I think the frustrating part is that once I got the email on Monday, I was really stressed, but I was going through the motions of like, okay, well, let me get a lawyer. Let me figure out what I need to do. Like, I was ready to go to bat for this because I knew it wasn't going to be a fun process, but thankfully the folks around me were completely ready to be like, we got you. So when he posted me on his social media, I was really confused because so this is not legal action. Like, I thought we were actually going to go to court. Like, this is corny. But the other frustrating part was there's this thing about surveillance and teaching you. I'm trying to basically, like, the fact that this man had access to my email, put my whole full name in the email, like shit like that was really more frustrating. And the fact that his goal was more or less to surveil me was more frustrating, because then that is what happened. You know, like the day after I got the email, I was like nervous. I didn't want to tweet certain things. Like message Blake. I was like, yo, this shit's happening. Like, but I didn't feel comfortable talking about it because I didn't know what I could say or couldn't say.
Yeah.
But that's how surveillance works. It teaches you to police yourself and to police other people. And I was more frustrated that he had gotten to me in that type of way. So when he did post me on his Instagram, I was just pissed. Like, I was just, and the other shitty part is that I was at work too. Like, so now I'm having whole panic attacks at work, and I have to leave work early over this dumb shit, you know? So it was just more irritating that this shit got to me, and that, you know, that his goal wasn't even, it was never really about the tweets. It was really about embarrassing me.
It was never about justice, bro. If that's for what he was claiming to seek, and that's what had me so frustrated. I was like, me and Blake were in New York when this shit was happening. I was pissed, bro. I was pissed at a nigga who could claim he's for this movement, he's for black people, and to just basically sick his followers onto you. Like, that's what that nigga did.
Over 1 million people.
Yeah.
Like, he waged an unfair war
on multiple platforms.
Yeah.
Like, and the playing field was never fair.
Even if I did apologize, he was still going to post us, because he still posted the other two people. So, like, what would really even be the point of apologizing if you're going to do this anyways?
He was trying to yield his power, bro.
He was lying, too. Like, he's literally kind of creating his own propaganda, too. In a way, because he was lying, like, oh, saying that you retracted your statement when you never did. And you deleted the tweet before he even emailed you. So that means he's been screenshot and been watching your shit, too. Right? Yeah. Or his team has been watching your shit. So it's like, if you're a black activist, quote unquote, or a person who's a part of this movement, and you're using your resources to watch other black activists and organizers, who the fuck are you?
And that's why it's so important, bro. It's so important to judge niggas by their actions. Because this whole time, he's screaming he wants justice, he wants to clear his name, but his actions were not rooted in the name of justice. His actions were rooted in causing you and everyone else that he posted harm, whether that's emotional abuse or physical. Like, that's exactly what he was trying to do.
And he's also making people examples, I think, too, right? And saying, you speak on my name, I'm finna come for you. Like, you know, me and Dwayne are having breakfast. I'm like, oh, yeah, this nigga Shaun King probably gonna try and sue me, too, because I've been talking about that nigga a lot, like, in his operative shit. So he's trying, that's what I saw it as. He's literally trying to make, you know, examples and put fear into other people about talking to him. And that's some of the most egotistical white shit that I've seen.
Yeah. And I think the other part is that the biggest reason why I didn't want to apologize or retract the statement was the fact that I knew that if I did, he would use the three of us as an example to come for Blake or Clarissa or other people who've made critiques of him. So it was really more like, number one, I don't have shit to apologize for. And two, you're not gonna use me as an example to build your case for other people. And then also lastly, like, the truth is that he really sees me as this lowly person. He genuinely thought that because I didn't have the followers at the time or the voice, that he could just get me to roll over and die.
Right. He didn't realize, I think, the amount of support you got too, you know?
Right. And the other really fucked up part is that I've met this man before. In real life. Like, when we did the Hillary stuff, the next week, he came to Crown Forum at Morehouse, and we took a picture with him. So, like, I have a picture standing next to this man. So I'm, number one, irritated because, like, so you think so less of me that you think I'm just this random person in the universe that you can make do whatever you want, not remembering the fact that, like, my nigga, I've met you before. Like, and the other part is that I live in Atlanta. I'm, like, a part of this Atlanta organizing family, body, whatever. Like, niggas know about Shaun King. They know about the shit that he's done. So, like, no. Like, if you really want to try this, if you really want to be like, you need to apologize to me. Okay, well, then I know this person, and that person who's had issues with you. And those are the people that you need to be apologizing to. Those are the folks that you've ruined their livelihoods and made promises to and never followed through with. And that's the reason why he doesn't live in Atlanta anymore.
Niggas ran him out of the A.
Yeah, because he ruined his name here.
And I don't understand how he's able to get away with this shit, bro. It's like,
I mean, who backs him? He has white supporters. He's backed by these, like
he's like the poster child of
the white liberal.
Yeah,
the white liberal has literally manufactured Shaun King.
Yeah.
He's like what they want black activism to look like.
Yeah, they want black activism to look very specific, and also just thinking about the history of organizing. Like, we always uplift like cishet black men. As the leaders, and people genuinely see him as a leader, even though he does nothing.
In the shit that he does shit that's detrimental to the movement,
like literally spreading trauma, black trauma, which research shows can cause PTSD-like effects in black people. So literally, you are contributing. I don't know.
Contributing. You said it.
To the fucking demise of our mental health.
Yeah. Well, and also I think the other part is that Shaun, like, he knows that he doesn't have community.
That's why I was asking Blake. I'm like, what organization does he belong to?
I mean, it's all organizations that he's made, but he doesn't have community. He can't come to Atlanta and be like, hey, I'm trying to build. He can't go to Oakland. He can't really go anywhere and build community because folks already know what he's about.
The community don't fuck with him out here.
Exactly. So I think he knows that, and he needs to build his name back up online. Hence the reason why he used myself.
He got a community. It's the online community where white folks that don't stay in the hood can speak up for him.
Yep. Because white folks think that he's, they think that he is MLK.
I can't stand that nigga for real, bro. And like I said,
I heard his name is Jeffrey too.
His first name is Jeffrey.
Oh my God, bro.
Yeah.
I do not like him. I know some black Jeffries.
Thomas
Young
Jefferson.
Thug's name is Jeffrey.
Huh? No, Thomas Jefferson.
Young Thug's name is Jeffrey.
Yeah. I'm gonna start calling him Thomas Jefferson.
I despise him.
Oh my God.
I despise him a lot because I've only seen. And then you're telling me the shit that he did with Centoya, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you think about the fact that this nigga just went over the work that y'all were doing to raise money for her. Like, how about tapping in with the niggas that's already doing this shit and uplifting uplifting them, using your platform to uplift their work? No, you just finna take credit for all this shit of decades of work that motherfucker's been doing.
The funny part is that, so basically he put out that tweet a few hours before her commutation came out. And then when he emailed me on Monday, he had deleted all of his tweets about Centoya.
He's a bitch ass nigga, bro.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, I can't even go up against him in that way and be like, I mean, because I wouldn't tweet about him in that case if I didn't see him say something. Because I also have him blocked. So, like, if you're not on my timeline, I'm not about to be tweeting about you just because. So I tweeted him for a very specific reason because I saw that tweet. But, of course, I don't have the space or the screenshots to back it up because he deleted it. So then in the things that he's been saying recently, he's been saying that my tweet about Centoya has been making people question the money that he raised for Jasmine Barnes, which is not true because people have been asking me about that money since way before Centoya's commutation.
Back in 2015, Goldie Taylor wrote that article, I believe.
Exactly, right? Like, this is not new. People have been questioning Shaun King for quite some time.
I mean, he was a mega church pastor too, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, so it's just interesting how he's kind of spun this into basically blaming me for the fact that people are asking him questions. But they're also questions that, like, he should answer.
Just answer them, my nigga. Like, all you gotta do is show the receipts.
Really
how hard is that?
It's really not that complicated. I mean, and also the fact of, like, he kind of pushed this idea that I caused him this great harm.
That's what's so frustrating
for me. Gaslighting. That is the most manipulative shit.
At the time when I tweeted that, I had maybe 5,500 followers, It got retweeted a couple hundred times, but that shit is minuscule in comparison to Twitter. And also, like, this shit did not take money out of your pocket.
It's so wild to me that he can like how he can sway back and forth between victim and predator, like without any repercussions or no one calling him out on it. Like it's all he talked about was y'all
I'm so
tarnishing my name, throwing dirt on my name, and then look at this, got him to apologize.
But you didn't get him. You forced and you
extorted them into apologizing,
like with legal action. It's like this is a whole grown ass. I'm not even gonna call him grown, but an older person. You feel me? Like he's probably in his 40s or some shit.
Yeah.
And here he is trying to intimidate a young black queer woman who is in college.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, if anything, it's like, it's just really corny in the sense of like, I think he really genuinely thought that I was going to roll over and die. And I think he's been more, the support that I've gotten from folks has been something he did not expect. He did not expect for people to.
Especially he really thought you had a smaller following at that time too, right? So he's probably like,
he really thought that
this is nothing to my million followers.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not going to say that like I haven't been frustrated or irritated by the concern. Like I really haven't been able to really like even get on my Instagram because shit is just like too much. But Twitter has been kind of a better space because I'm able to mute certain stuff. But I mean, he really just tried the wrong one. And yeah.
You a real ass nigga. Like, yeah. So shout out to you for like the courage you had to stand up to this nigga. You feel me? Because I could only imagine how that was feeling. But to really have a principled stance and like, nah, I ain't finna let this happen. Like, I got a lot of respect. I already respected you before this. You feel me? So like, yeah, I got a lot of respect.
Yeah, I'm thinking if the nigga would have came for me, like I would have been lawyering up, calling motherfuckers, trying to figure out what I can do, and then also figuring out like how many retweets is this getting? How many people can now recognize me and actually that I'll never see coming type shit.
Yeah.
Because this nigga obviously has like a cult like following, got fanatics, and I seen motherfuckers like making threats and shit on it was ridiculous, bro.
Yeah. And I mean, thankfully, I haven't been able to see that. I mean, I did see the Tariq Nasheed thing.
Oh, that shit had me highly upset.
Yeah,
highly.
And
upset.
I mean, that was more. It was frustrating, because I then have to, call my friends from middle school and be like, "Hey, y'all, this weirdo took pictures from my Facebook page and posted us." So that's just more weird and embarrassing to have to explain to people like that I haven't talked to in a really long time. To explain this has been more frustrating because those folks didn't ask for this. Also, Tariq Nasheed just has too much fucking time on his hands. But I mean, thankfully, I've only seen the good stuff. I've seen a little bit of the bad stuff, but I haven't seen a lot of it. So, and I wasn't on my Twitter for a few days. So, I really have like really dope community around me to really kind of
support you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm really glad. It sounds like you're taking care of yourself. So I'm really happy you're doing that for you.
Yeah. Well, and plus, like, I got bigger shit to do in my life. There've been plenty of men in my life who've tried to make me apologize or stroke their ego, and this really ain't even new. It's just in a different platform.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to talk about that situation or?
I mean, honestly, not really. I definitely told myself, like, after today, I was kind of done talking about it just because, like, I got school, I got writing shit to do. So, I mean, honestly, I just don't want to give him any more of my time and energy because he doesn't deserve it. So,
facts. Fuck that nigga. Period.
Yeah.
For sure. So, for our folks who are listening, this is like a question that we want to start exploring is like, what is a black radical? Right? Because it's very clear that this nigga is not, right? So that's one thing we're going to start exploring, like come Black History Month. We're going to really want to talk about like who is a black radical? What is the black radical tradition, right? Who could speak for us, right?
Yeah.
Especially how these movements are, kind of being co-opted by these industry activist plants in a lot of ways. So make sure y'all tap in to the next episodes that are going to be coming out on Hella Black, especially during Black History Month. So we're going to start exploring that question. But I think to end the episode, I think we haven't even talked about Black Joy.
Damn, we talked about all this black ass trauma.
All this trauma.
But I think we gonna end this episode right before we get into the Patreon exclusive. We're talking about some Black Joy. So do you want to start us off, Clarissa, or do you want us to?
Yeah, do you want me to just talk about what's brought me joy this week?
Yeah.
What has brought me joy? Oh, actually, the funny thing is, so the day that all of this happened, I was supposed to go to a No Name show. So everything's popping off. I'm super stressed, losing it. And then my partner's like, you still have to go to this concert. Like, you paid too much money for these tickets. And I also love No Name. So that's what brought me joy this week, was going to the No Name show. And I'm going to write about it for a website. So that is what made me smile.
That's what's up.
I love No Name.
Be sure to send us that article too when that comes out.
Absolutely.
Yes, Lord. What about you, D?
I don't know. I'm trying to think. We went to New York this past week. That was lit.
Yeah.
That's our first time flying out the state together and kicking it and shit. It was fucking freezing out there.
Yeah, it's cold.
It was.
I don't understand how. Like, why do people live there by choice?
Yeah,
bruh. It was
by
hella
choice.
brick out there. Like,
yep.
This shit was so cold it was racist. Like, that's how cold that shit was. I don't know.
Did y'all have coats for that? Literally, when I saw the videos of y'all out there, I was like, I don't even think they have the right attire.
I had to go buy clothes. Like, I packed drunk, first of all. Like, I went to the bar and watched the Rams game before we flew out. We called it Red Eye. And I went home after the game, and I'm like off 12 shots of Hennessy. I'm just throwing shit. Like, I'm just trying to look fly, but like LA fly, Bay Area fly. Forgot I was going to New York. Within getting off the plane, within walking outside in the first 2 minutes, I'm like, I definitely did not pack the right amount of shit.
No.
And I had to go shopping. It was fucking freezing.
Yeah. The thing is, I was cold in Oakland when we left. And then I got there, I was like, bro, I can't even call Oakland cold no more. That shit was freezing.
Nah.
But
yeah,
I think go ahead.
No, I was. I've been to New York maybe one time before, and like I went in January, and I was like, oh, this is cute. But it's something about the buildings and stuff. Like the wind just hits harder.
The wind just hits your face. It just attacks you.
I was getting slapped.
That is exactly what it feels like.
But yeah, I think Black Joy moment was definitely being in New York, and I tried my first chopped cheese.
But it wasn't a real. You've been in New York. You've been in New York before, right?
Yeah.
And like, have you like spent time out there and not just in like the tourist shit?
No, I was only there for like a few days, so I didn't even get to do tourist shit.
It's like chopped cheese, like a New York delicacy. Like, but it's like only in like, you know, like the hood type shit. We stayed in Greenwich, which isn't the hood. And when I'm in New York, I never know where the fuck I am. I don't know if Manhattan is Brooklyn, Brooklyn is in Manhattan. I don't know where the fuck I am. East Side, Lower East Side, Soho, none of that shit. But the time before I was there, I like got hella good chopped cheese. And I was trying to take Blake around to get one. We could not find him anywhere. We found him at one spot, and it was fairly decent, but it wasn't like the hood shit. Definitely not.
Yeah, you got to get like someone from the community to be like, tell me what good chopped cheese is.
Yeah. So shout out to New York. You feel me? We was thorough on every borough.
Thorough on every borough, baby.
So
honestly, watching the videos of y'all be out there was hilarious. I was like, these niggas are going to lose it.
I was really like, I wasn't sleeping. I was like sleeping with my North Face jacket on and shit, like, cause it was just so cold. And then I wake up sweating, like, fuck, you know. I don't know, cause you be hella cold, then you go inside of a building, you feel me, and then it's warm in there, so then you just start sweating, and then you go outside, then you hella cold. Like, bro, this shit is not cool, fam. It's not cool at all. I'm staying my ass in the bay.
That's how people get sick. It's asking you to catch a cold.
Yeah, I'm hella congested and shit too right now too. Like, I ain't fucking with it. You know, the more I leave the Bay Area, the more I realize how lucky I am to live out here. Like, this weather is perfect.
Yeah, that's how I feel about the South. Like, every time I leave the South, I'm always like, nah, I'm gonna go back. I mean, we got racism and stuff, but also we got Bojangles. So
and JR Crickets.
Yeah, it's like the food is so good. I may just push through.
For sure. Well, now we're gonna get into our Patreon exclusive. So be sure to follow I don't know. Actually, you say you don't want no more followers.
I mean, y'all can follow me, but just know it's gonna cause me.
Do you
stress.
have a Patreon or Cash App or something? Boost that shit.
Oh yeah, I do. My Cash App is just the cute little $sign and then Clarissa Brooks. That's it.
Pay up, nigga. Clarissa does great work.
Yes, Lord. So like it on SoundCloud, subscribe on iTunes, give us a 5-star review, and if you're trying to listen to the next part, you finna have to pay up. And you get extended content on patreon.com/hellbackpod. Extended content that ain't heard nowhere else. You feel me? So support black folks making radical content. You feel me? Tap in with us. You feel me? $1, $2, $5 to hear this next part. But you're going to be getting extended episodes every week. So you really is getting some good fire content. And it helps us pay our guests too. So tap in with our patreon.com/hellblackpod. Check out our website, hellblackpod.com. Tap in if you want us to do a live show. We got a few live shows coming up. Our live shows be hella lit. So fuck with us.